Hello, this is Doug Brunke of the Global Chamber, and today I'm here with Ambassador Ichiro Fujisaki. Ichiro Fujisaki lived and worked in the U.S. multiple times. He first came to the U.S. as a junior high school student in Seattle. Then in the early 1970s, he was a student at both Brown and Stanford universities. After starting his career, he served twice in Washington, D.C. in the late 1990s and again in 2008 and 2012. On the latter occasion, he served as Japanese ambassador. He maintains strong ties with the U.S. and visits the country several times every year. He's also served in Jakarta, Paris, London, and Geneva. In Tokyo, he was Director General of the North American Affairs Bureau at the Foreign Ministry before being appointed as Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs in 2002. He is now President of the America-Japan Society in Japan. Fujisaki-san, ohayou gozaimasu.
Ohayou gozaimasu. Thank you very much for having us today.
We really appreciate you and your dedication.
What a weather you have prepared for us. We don't want to go back anymore to Tokyo.
Yeah, America always welcomes Japanese, and we really welcome you here to the United States. We have a couple topics we'd love to chat with you about today, and things that are both near and dear to the Japanese business community and the American business community. One is the trade deals that are coming.
Can I first, I'm sorry to cut in, but
yes.
Tell you what we are here?
Of course.
Why we are.
Please.
This is a team sent from Prime Minister's Office of Japan.
Yes.
And we have team of five. I'm the leader, and we have a businessman, former businessman, and three young ladies. And they have their own stories to tell, how they would like to connect Japan with the United States. Some lady is newlywed, would like to talk about the wedding in Japan. Some are a musician and would like to perform music, and the other is American educated and now studying in Japan and as a university student. So they have their own stories and they would like to tell in their words. And this is a new project started last year, and we are now here in this important state of Arizona, and we'll move on to California tomorrow, and we'll do 2 states.
It's called Walk in the U.S., Talk on Japan.
It's called so, but we're not really walking too much. We're being bussed around, but that's the story, yes.
And the intent is really to develop better and stronger relationships between the U.S. and Japan. Yes. So congratulations on that program.
Thank you very much.
It's such an important thing.
Shut up.
And that important thing is the trade deals that are out, particularly the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Could you tell us a little bit more about why should businesses on both sides of the Pacific be interested in that deal?
I think this TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership, is a creation of new rules in Asia-Pacific. It's not only tariffs, but intellectual property rights, all other important trade-related regulations. And it's important that two big trade countries, US and Japan, is in it in order to write and form the regulations. And we are very happy that we are included there, and hope that we'll come to agreement soon. For us, Japan has another meaning, because Prime Minister Abe is going through reform of Japanese economy, and he thinks that this TPP could be a tool for changing Japanese economy, especially in the field of agriculture and some other fields as well.
So the businesses on either side of the Pacific then are going to benefit. I presume both Japanese and American companies?
Yes, I think so. Because we have had some FTAs like NAFTA for US, and we have FTAs with Australia, Malaysia, Philippines, Peru, Chile, and in all those FTAs, the effect of the bilateral economy on bilateral economy is great, really. It has changed dramatically the trade volume and quantity as well.
You've been involved with diplomacy and trade all your life and so many decades. What's your view of where are we today relative to where we were 10 or 20 years ago? Are we making progress? Are you optimistic about the future?
Yes, I am, because this FTA started only 20 years ago, really, with US NAFTA, and it totally changed the world, because we were all clinging on to WTO rules, and it's important, but FTA has given a new sort of kick into world trade, and some people are worried about spaghetti effect, but all in all, it has really increased the trade volume dramatically after FTA has come in. And I think many important countries are having FTAs around the world. One thing we should not forget is for those countries who would not be asked to dance. Some countries would be left behind, and we have to be always caring about them, so that those countries would not become a frustrated spot, and will become some places for sort of, I should say, uncertainty or some problem arising from there. I would not call it terrorism, but it could be a possibility. Some parts of the world is totally dissociated from the move.
So you and the Japanese government are strong believers in inclusion.
Yes.
And in making sure that all.
And that's why we have been extending official development assistance around the world for so many years. Yes.
So that's fantastic, and it's certainly something the Global Chamber strongly believes in as well. If we could shift gears a little bit, one of the things, after now knowing you, a couple things really have stuck out. Number one is you've met all the U.S. presidents since President Carter. You've met world leaders all around the world when you were Sherpa with G7 and many of other. You've basically been in the company of some really great men and women, and so congratulations on that. And yet now a lot of your time is spent with students, and that's very exciting and invigorating. And in particular, I'm very excited by your concept of teaching the young people to read between the lines, to not just take things at face value. Could you explain a little bit more about what that means to you and why that's important?
When I came to professorship recently, I thought I would not repeat what I was doing 20 years ago. At that time, I pretended as if I knew everything in the world, and I taught about Pakistan, I taught about Mexico, I taught about anything arising issues, and now I think that's not for me. So I'm conveying two things that I think I'm a little stronger than some others. One is to read between the lines, as you just say. That is that don't just believe what the leader says. You have to analyze why he or she is saying that. What is behind? That's one thing. Second thing is to speak and write succinctly. I'm saying to people that in order to get masters, you have to write 100 pages. You have to write 300 pages to get doctors. But if you're out of the university or college, nobody would read you if you write 10 pages. You have to write 2 pages. You have to speak in 2 minutes. So I think I would be shutting down.
So that's clearly something you feel is very important. How do you feel young people respond to that message, and how do young people today respond to it versus years ago?
I think they absorb it very quickly and would appreciate that kind of teaching, because they have not learned that from many other professors. Because I have some experience in diplomacy, and also I have some experience in so-called real world, not only the academic world. So they would like to know something about what's happening outside college campus, and I could convey that. I have to do it carefully, not to be too much disliked by other professors, though.
They don't necessarily appreciate the succinctness, you mean?
I don't know.
What's your view going forward? And are you optimistic about the future of the world based on the students that you're meeting? What are some of the challenges that we're facing, and what would you like to see going forward?
It's I think we have to be in this world. The electronics or IT tools are progressing and advancing too quickly, so that some wisdom of old peoples, senior people, are sort of putting aside because of that element. And I think learning from history and other things should be placed a little bit more importance on, so that we're not always asking for change. We have to really value the importance of what we already have. I think that is a little forgotten, and everyone's just running for change. That's how I feel it.
But fortunately, the relationship between the United States and Japan is so rock solid. That's something that will never change. And so, Ambassador Fujisaki, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much for having us. Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it. Thank you.